Hey guys, it's Chedic, and in today's video, I'll be covering all 8 dragon weapons because simply they returned, and well, we have a new freaking lineup of meta heroes, and it's definitely worth covering them with all the new hero loadouts we can run, and to see if these weapons are actually good now. TLDR, 5 out of the 8 weapons are good. Find out as the video goes on. So, the first weapon we're going to start off with is the Dragon's Fist. And each time I transition to it, I will be showing you the hero loadout I ran and the perks on the left side, hero loadout on the right side, so you guys can get a good idea of what I'm doing with it to make it so good. Now, with the Dragon's Fist, I ran an impact build because I love to beat Hus up, and the Dragon's Fist just does that. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, the Dragon's Fist has around 10k impact with this build I showed you. Footloose is a bug perk, and that's why we stuck it in. It gave it 85% more impact, and this hammer shreds. So as you've been seeing, I've been stunning smashers with 1 hit, and heavy attacking them with 1 hit, and that's it, an immediate stun. It's beautiful, it's a good weapon. And it doesn't do the most damage, but it did around like 260k as like the highest number I've seen. And personally, I thought the weapon was really fun to play around with. Every time I kind of hit with the hammer, and on the stream, I was screaming, what was it? Kinetic Overdrive, Kinetic Overdrive, Kinetic Overdrive, because that's all the weapon was doing. I was 1-hitting Kinetic Overdrive on the Husky Husk, I was 1-hitting Overdrive on the Husks, and if anything, I was 3-hitting Kinetic Overdrive on the Smasher. So the Dragon's Fist is a really good weapon, and I definitely recommend picking it up, perking it up, if you have all the heroes in the loadout I've shown. The next weapon is the Dragonfire, and the Dragonfire looks mediocre, and it is mediocre. Overall, I did not have fun with this weapon. The range is abysmal. The freaking damage is okay, but you literally have to be in breathing range of the blaster. It's like, say the blaster's over here, and I'm over here. I need to be like, hey bro, what's up? And then I can finally do damage with my stank breath. But it's like, yeah, exactly that. I just hated it. I hated running around with this weapon because I was like, I need to have way more movement speed, or this weapon is just done, and I just dislike that. If it had much more range, if it had a decent range, it'd be fun. But because the range is literally 768, it's kind of a problem. So overall, the weapon did a decent amount of damage with totally rocking out active. I think I showed the loadout, and it did good damage, but the downside is the range. It really just like kind of ruined the weapon overall. If it was like a weapon where I could just blast, 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 and then reload and blast, blast, blast again, it would be much more fun. Especially since the Pulsar 9000 came out, this weapon just looks like it's horrible. It's not fun. It's not fun to use. I mean, I forced myself to use it. I kind of enjoyed it, but as the time was going on, I was like, this weapon is kind of annoying. It's really, really annoying. So the Dragonfire, would I recommend perking it up? No. I recommend putting in your collection book, and that's it. Don't touch the weapon. It's not good. And I tried with it. I did. I definitely did. And I had trouble killing 145 flingers when other weapons would delete those. So let's move on to the next weapon, one of my favorites, the Spear. The next weapon is the Dragon's Fang. Now, personally, I thought this weapon was gonna fail, but with the loadout I ran with it and the perks on it, I actually had a fun time. The weapon was really good, actually. For a legacy weapon, a weapon that's been in the game for around 3 years, I didn't expect to do so much damage. But I was running around and just deleting husks. I was like, huh, okay, this is actually broken. Maybe it shouldn't do this much damage. And then I like looked around and I was like thinking some math in my head, and I was like, yeah, this all adds up. So, Dragon's Fang, it does great damage. The heavy attack is super fun with it, and if you have heavy attack efficiency, if you're ever in a bind, just right click and whirlwind and bam, you're literally just chilling. That's how good the Dragon's Fang is. It's literally, if you're in a mess, oh, just right click, just heavy attack, and where's the mess now? I didn't expect this weapon to do so much damage, and I'm glad it does a lot more damage. It brings a lot of fun to spears, and I kind of want to build more spears to see if there's anything else that I'm missing. Maybe the Sir Lancelot could be good besides a Husk Culture, I don't know. But the Dragon's Fang, overall, I had a lot of fun with it, and if I had the Roman candle on it, I think that would have been a little dope. So yeah, the Dragon's Fang, definitely a good weapon, and I definitely recommend you perk it up. The Dragon's Claw. Now, it's a sniper rifle. I understand. Sniper rifle equal bad, but the Dragon's Claw is anything but that. The Dragon's Claw is actually pretty good, and definitely perk this weapon up. Now, the Dragon's Claw fires a candle, a Roman candle, and that Roman candle blows up and does AoE damage. With the right build that I've shown you earlier, it does around 700k per candle crit, which is enough to kill a 124 blaster in one shot, and a 145 smasher in 4 shots if all of those shots crit. With a totally rocking out build, just eat a wafer and all 4 shots will definitely crit and you'll kill a smasher. Personally, I find this weapon to be very good, very high in the damage, and it could be an AoE weapon if you wanted it to. This weapon was literally the boom bow before boom bows. If anyone had the gall to use this Dragon's Claw after totally rocking out, people would have been like, screw the boom bow. Let's just use this Dragon's Claw. It's much better. It has 4 shots in the magazine. Each of those shots do AoE damage. You don't have to charge it up. And the range is crazy. It's literally insane. It says 256 range, but I literally sniped a blaster from across the map, and I was like, wow, okay, this weapon's kind of insane. And when I was playing with it, I was like, damn, this weapon's actually pretty good. Like, damn, so what you hiding from me? Why are you so good? And I didn't know that. The reason why I didn't know that is because I don't have perk up and perks, so I just kind of like, you know, let it happen. But yeah, the Dragon's Claw, definitely a weapon to perk up. So let's move on to the next one. The 5th weapon, the Dragon's Tooth. Now, this sword actually wasn't that bad with the sword loadout. It was actually pretty strong. As much as I didn't enjoy running around with a heavy attacking, like a very heavy sword, very slow sword, it did a decent amount of damage. It was like, this is okay, this isn't bad, it's not the best, clearly, there's other better swords out there. That's the you know, like pretty much the best sword in the game. But like I'm saying, this sword wasn't bad at all. With the heavy attack, and I constantly spammed that whenever I saw a mist monster, I was doing some pretty decent damage. And if I had a wafer and probably went for a smasher, I think I would have done some truly decent damage. It's not a bad sword outright, but without a good loadout, this sword's kind of... If you're running a sword loadout, then the sword shines. Well, that kind of works for every gun. So the sword was pretty decent to use, and I definitely recommend... Well, I wouldn't recommend... If you have like a Spectral Sword or the Storm King's Ravager, then it's not really worth upgrading this weapon unless you specifically want a heavy attack spamming fire sword, which in my opinion is not a bad deal. I probably won't be using this weapon in the future, so I don't really recommend perking it, but it's entirely up to you. After seeing this gameplay and after seeing how I yeeted that taker, then maybe it'll change your mind. Now let's move on to the next one. The Dragon's Might, the 6th weapon out of the 8. Now, oh my god, I didn't expect this shit. It's so good! I had so much fun playing with this weapon. While I was shooting it around, I was like, okay, my first impressions were, this isn't gonna do anything worthwhile. And then I shot it, and I was like, oh, well, would you look at that? It's cool. And then while I was shooting it, I was like, wait a minute, I could spam this. So what I was doing, I was clicking right click, I was clicking the reload button, and I was clicking the fire button, and I was going ham with the Dragon's Might. I was clearing encampments, everything. I was just destroying, and I loved it so much. If the Pulsar 9000 wasn't in the game, and I had a Nature Wave, I would definitely use the Dragon's Might with the shotgun. It's actually one of the better shotguns out there. Out of all the shotguns I would use, maybe like the Double Boiler or the Stalwart Squire, which I hate, I'd probably still use the Dragon's Might. Because your Stalwart Squire ain't killing all these husks, but my Dragon's Might will! Because it hits like, so if the shots crit, it's around like 200k per rocket, and there's 5 of them, and the reload speed's so quick with the reload speed perk. It's actually really fun. And if you get the candle with that, you get the fire, you get the little small explosions, you get the candle. It's just insane. It's wonderful. The Dragon's Might, without a doubt, my favorite weapon from this weapon set. If you don't pick it up, violence. It's simple. I will beat you up. I will beat you. I will beat you. The Dragon's Fury. Now, when I used to play this game, when I played it in the lower level, I had the Dragon's Fury original, but I was dumb and stupid, and I didn't know the Dragon's Fury was good. I didn't run the Dragon's Fury with any specific loadout, actually. I kind of just thought, it's a rocket launcher. If it doesn't do enough damage alone without a loadout, then it's not going to do a great amount of damage with a loadout. And if you're running a rocket launcher with a rocket launcher loadout, what are you doing, Chief? Wait, what you doing? There's no reason to do that when you just, I mean, you could, but it's just like weird and expensive, and like you really ballin' if you do that. And you would, yeah. So the Dragon's Fury, personally, I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect it to do so much damage, but it really costed me to do the damage I wanted. What I would do to do insane amounts of damage with the Dragon's Fury is I would spam it. I would shoot so many of them, and it would do so much damage so quickly. In fact, if you comboed this weapon with a tar pit and just shot in front of the husk the whole time, you would kill it. I'm pretty sure there's part of me killing a mini boss, and I'm just like, spam Dragon Fury, 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 spam. And it was lit. I really did enjoy this rocket launcher, and yeah, that's about it. It's super fun, it's super strong, and it's worth the pickup. Definitely pick up the Dragon's Fury and perk it up if you're not having a fire rocket launcher already. I shouldn't have said dragon spam stuff. Alright, well, next gun. The 8th weapon, your boy's favorite, the Dragon's Roar. Not this boy. I don't like the Dragon's Roar. That boy. That boy. Or you like it. I don't. Personally, it's not my favorite weapon. I dislike it a lot because it's boring. It's a semi-automatic weapon that shoots, and it does a lot of damage with the right loadout, but it's just boring. It's not as fun as all the other weapons like the sniper or the blunderbuss, but it definitely has its own little unique perk. It's like piercing targets or explosion. Couldn't tell the difference because I didn't play with it for that much because I didn't enjoy it. But it definitely did a lot of damage, and it was just like, that was it for me. I didn't have the Roman candle on it, so I wasn't really like getting a lot of AoE. But when I was shooting with it, I was like, huh, that's pretty good. That's a lot of damage. But I didn't have fun with it. It's just a mediocre AR that does a lot of damage. Yeah. So that's about it. Let's move on to the tier list. Now, like all weapons I review, I always put them on a tier list after the review. So now that you guys have seen my descriptions on them and actually have probably formed an opinion yourselves, let's put them on the tier list. Now, the spear with a good loadout, it's pretty good. It's actually nearly amazing. However, there are spears that have power crept this spear, so if the spear had double crit damage, double crit rating, actually it wouldn't even be that good. With the heavy attack efficiency, it actually makes it pretty standalone good. So after playing with it for a while and using the loadout, I put the spear in the A tier. Now, the Dragon's Tooth, after playing with this one for a while and, not really enjoying it as much as I enjoyed the other weapons, I'm going to be putting it in the B tier. It does do solid damage, but it's usually 2 heavy attacks and then 124 Mist Monster will die. It's still very powerful though, very powerful. So I definitely would recommend getting it as a starter weapon and then moving on, or just getting the spear and ignoring the sword entirely. Now, the claw. Oof, I love the claw. I'm putting that in A. I would even put it in S, honestly. It's not an S though. And then we have the blunderbuss. Now, this weapon is not as good as the Pulsar 9000, and the Pulsar 9000 is ultra tier, but it's up there. So I'm going to be putting the blunderbuss in S tier. Now, don't come at me. You guys saw that damage. You know it's pretty good. I like the blunderbuss, and I'm going to leave him in the S tier. Now we have this is not the Fury, the Dragon's, yeah, this is the Fury actually. The Dragon's Roar. It does do good damage if you spam, but if you have to use all that ammo, it's not as good as the other rocket launchers. This one is a solid B tier weapon. Now, the hammer. Because I'm using Footloose in that hammer loadout, it's a broken weapon. Without Footloose, without that 85% extra impact, it's a C tier. Unfortunately, kinetic overload does too little damage, and impact is too little for hammers to be viable again. We have to resort to broken perks in order to make them good. Once the broken perk gets removed from the game, so does the viability of the weapon. So, hammers suck, and so does Epic. You suck. Well, otherwise I'd put him in A, because that was a really fun hammer. But, we're gonna put you in the C tier, unfortunately. And now, I don't remember this one. I think it's the Dragon Fire. Dude, just get out of here. Just saying this to your brother, the Nailer. You're just awful. Well, he's not. I'm joking. It's just the range is really bad, and that's about it. Otherwise, it does a really decent amount of damage, but you really have to breathe on your subject and your enemy and do ASMR on him to make it good. So screw that. And then the last one, the Dragon's Roar. Because it does so much damage and it's pretty good overall, we're gonna put him in the A tier. It's a solid weapon. And that's about it. Those are all the weapons. thank you guys for watching my video. If you did enjoy this video, tell me in the comments below. Maybe like and subscribe. Oh, and if you want this type of video done with the other, you know, loadouts, the other event sets, I'll definitely do that. Just let me know. Alright, well, love y'all, and toodles.